Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Wakey Wakey with Jakey. It's your favorite morning fantasy football show that we just invented because Jake's dog was sick. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Athletics Fantasy Cheat Sheet brought to you by JockMKT. If you want to check out the Athletics, super cheap, theathletic.com/cheat sheet. We'll get you there. Jake, what's up?
What's up? It's sick. I wish he was only sick.
Well, I'm sorry, ill, messed up.
Surgery?
Surgery. I don't know if you wanted to get into that much detail, but sure. Jake's dog had surgery. She's okay.
I already put in the article to thank everybody that reached out.
Did they, without me asking too many questions about this before we get into the most added, most dropped players in CBS leagues, did they go through like the throat, or did they pull something out through the?
They went through it's somethingsoscopy. Something
they went through.
No, that's why I was not in a good shape on Monday night, because when I dropped her off at the 24-hour hospital, they said that if they can't get it with the oscopy where it was, they couldn't actually do open surgery because it would have collapsed her chest.
Okay. On that note, let's get to some questions. If you're watching on YouTube, drop your questions over there.
So Jakey was about to breaky on Monday night.
Yeah, Jay, we got Jake. We tried to write his waiver wire column and he wouldn't let us. So that's the kind of dedication this guy has. Quick question, Jake. Trade question from Angel Garcia. Good morning. Someone's trying to trade in Lockett for Jefferson.
I actually don't mind it because of the schedule. If you look at the Seahawks remaining games and the Vikings remaining games, especially for the playoffs, it's terrific. So maybe you can get more Lockett good than when it's been bad, because he's been Amari Cooper before Amari Cooper was with Dak Prescott. Frustrating. He's hurt this week too. So that's the thing that you have to watch out for. If Lockett might not even play Thursday night. So if you can wait that out, I actually like the fact that they're going to get an extended rest, and then he gets a really nice playoff schedule.
You know what's interesting in the podcast I did yesterday with Chris Vaccaro, the Chris Vaccaro Show on the Athletic Fantasy Podcast. We actually, so I did this. Someone was talking about DK Metcalf and how much of a study it is, and I'm like, look, that's not a lot of targets. He's probably one of the leaders in yards per target. It was actually Justin Jefferson who was like number one in yards per target.
Yeah.
I think maybe I did last 3 weeks. I think I did week 7 to 9, 7 to 10. Maybe I did the whole season. But I was surprised, like last year, it seemed like that was Lockett. Yeah.
Lockett.
Yeah, Lockett. Who had, like a bunch of yards off very few targets. And all season long, I was like, it's not going to last. It's not going to last. And it lasted.
Well, it was also his touchdown rate, and everybody for years have been saying they can't be sustainable, and he has a connection with Russell Wilson. And look, Justin Jefferson certainly can, but if you're going to tell me Russell Wilson versus Kirk Cousins, if you're going to add in the schedule, I know Jefferson's actually been more consistent than Lockett, but I would still take Lockett potentially winning you a championship.
We got a good question about if Lockett's out. Is David? Oh yeah.
I'd say yes, and I think that Freddie Swain would become really sneaky interesting, because if you watch last week's game, Swain was getting a lot of looks from Russ in what was assumed to be the game where Lockett was dinged up.
Fair. All right, you heard it here first, Freddie Swain. One more question, then we'll get some added drops. I need a QB to fill in for Allen. Jameis, Jake. We gonna say Jameis, please?
I have Jameis. As a QB1 this week. If
you know what's, go ahead. Please.
I was gonna say, if your pick for, look, I understand if you want to go with Cam. Here's the problem with Cam. He's a running back. This is for everybody that's yelling about Lamar Jackson playing quarterback as a running back. This is a running back playing quarterback. If he doesn't run for 40 yards and a touchdown, you're getting nothing in the passing game. So I understand that he's saying that he wants the floor here, and I understand that Jameis Winston could throw 4 interceptions, and I still think he's a different quarterback now. I don't think he's going to stop throwing interceptions, but I don't think he's 30 interceptions anymore. I would go with Winston. I'm honestly, I tried to get Winston in a lot of leagues last night.
So did I. I had $7 in one league left in Fab, and I blew all 7. It's got $0 bids, but I blew all 7 on Jameis Winston, and I got him. Quick follow up from Taz. Do you want to start Brady, Winston, or Matt Ryan this week?
Check the link. I don't.
All right, check the link, Taz. Come on. You should know better.
Yeah, you should know better. I have Brady at 10, Winston at 11. So there you go. And who was the other one?
It's still on the screen. Brady, Winston, Matt Ryan.
Matt Ryan's at 9. Have fun with that.
All right.
They're 9, 10, and 11.
Here's an interesting thing, Jake. Brandon Howard, our writer, who's kind of Emery Hunt passed the torch kind of onto, has this great nugget about Jameis. I don't even know how he saw this much in this little, but Jameis Winston's mechanics. He fixed him. And there's more velocity. He's throwing through. You got to read it. It's Brandon Howard's up today. It's up right now. I'm not saying that just to plug it. It was like a note about Jameis Winston that I did not know, and I don't think a lot of people have heard about. That we got Brandon Howard.
He also got the LASIK too.
Well, he said a lot has been made about the LASIK, but really it's like this throwing motion. He went back to basics, and there's more velocity. So
I believe Brandon. I hope that's true because my hesitancy is back with like Tebow. Is he going to revert? Like we see these guys fix their throwing motion and then muscle memory from 15 years of doing it, and they start going back.
Right. Well, maybe that was what he was, and he changed to placate Tampa Bay, and now he's back to what he was.
Hopefully.
Jake,
I still think he's good.
I think he's good. I love him. I'm excited. Although this Taysom, so we brought up Taysom Hill a little bit yesterday.
Yeah.
Like he's not going to steal that much, right?
I think you have to be concerned about the goal line. That's he might lose touchdowns. That being Jameis Winston. That's my concern is because Taysom Hill. Look, Sean Payton has a love fest with Taysom Hill. Yep. He was already ruining things for Drew Brees at times, where Drew Brees could have had top 5 performance games if not for Taysom Hill. And maybe he gets even sprinkled in more now. That's legit. You can't ignore it.
Here's a crazy question for you, Jake. Taysom Hill. Have you ranked him in tight end? I noticed some people were complaining about it in the rankings a little bit. Like, where's Taysom Hill in your tight ends?
They weren't complaining. They just asked.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, I don't see him in your rankings, Jakey.
Yeah. He would be a top 10, potentially, top 8. Tight end's god-awful miserable. This really is. And it happens this time around the buys every single year. That's why I made the change in our home league to go, instead of tight end, we have wide receiver / tight end. And everybody's like, oh, then you don't have to make a tough decision. It's not for the entire year. I keep bringing up, I had somebody last year start 2 tight ends, one in the flex all year long because he hit on Darren Waller. So he was starting with Darren Waller, and then I forget his other tight end. But it's not going to preclude you from starting a tight end. It just avoids you having to go into right now with 4 teams on the buys, all the injuries, and having to be like, well, I hope Aikens gets a touchdown. I hope, Jay Sternberger gets a touchdown. That's right.
Just Mo Alley Cox.
Yeah, because that's all you're doing.
But what makes Taysom Hill? So I understand the question. I understand the strategy. And I remember we did it with Joe Webb, in week 16, 6 or 7 years ago. But what are we expecting from Taysom Hill really to make him a top 8 tight end?
A touchdown.
That's the thing.
But that's the thing is he can do it running, receiving, or passing.
Right.
And And they keep using him inside the goal line area. Honestly, it's like Taysom Hill is 50% of Cam Newton. Because he's putting up the yards on the other side. He's not putting it on the passing side.
Gotcha. All right, fair enough. I don't know. Sometimes I'm surprised that you like the thing that people are also liking, you know? You're like, no, it's crap. Taysom Hill, what's he going to throw for 36 yards? And run for 10?
What do you make this sound like that's me? You're the contrarian one when it comes to movies and TV and stuff. You like that. If it's popular, you hate it.
Not true. Did you see the Lego holiday special yet?
No, I'm watching that with my nephew.
We almost watched that last night. We didn't.
I'll be watching it Friday after the new episode of The Mandalorian with my nephew, and then we'll watch that as well.
Anyone out there, if you've seen it, let us know if it's good. I don't want to. Well, I'll probably do.
I saw a review that gave it 7 out of 10.
All right, that's all I need. Jake, let's look at the most added players on CBS leagues. Number one. He's number 3. And keep in mind, I think a lot of leagues, like my league did it, pushed Fab back a day because of all the COVID stuff.
Right.
So these aren't as complete as they would be in years past. But the top 5 most added: Salvin Ahmed, the Chargers DST, who are playing the Jets; Jameis Winston, Naheem Hines, and the Dolphins DST.
By the way, you said it wrong.
What? It's not Salvin Ahmed?
No, you got the Ahmed part right. I found this out last night when I was doing my podcast. It's Savon. No
all right.
L.
All right.
Savon Ahmed.
Savon Ahmed, most added player. He's up to 51% now in leagues. Jake, I guess is a smart move. He's obviously he's killing the market share. According to Salfino, he said you should put 50% of your fab budget on him, even with Gaskin coming back. For a lot of teams who are in a win now situation, Jake, Ahmed is the guy you want. Right? The running back landscape is not in tatters, but it's not perfect.
No.
Yeah. Would you consider, should he be 80% by the end of the week?
Is
he must own?
He was. He and Kalen Ballage were both at the top of the waiver list if they still happen to be out there. Ballage was picked up in a few more leagues, but both of them have to be, because here's what happens. Even if they're not the guy, both of them. Now Ballage has done it for 2 games, but let's say Ahmed is not the guy.
Ahmed.
I know. I was joking around with screwing it up. The Jeff Dunham special is coming on with Ahmed, the terrorist. So if Ahmed's, I want to say Ahmed every single time. If Ahmed is not the number 1 and Matt Breida comes back, or Myles Gaskin comes back, that's the downside. the upside and why we're saying to go aggressive and why it should be 80% ownership by the end of the week. And why? Because if he keeps the job, and it's like Kalen Ballage, you just walked into an RB2, which you don't find at this point in the year. I understand people don't want to blow everything and then see somebody pop up next week, but it's been 3 weeks since we really had anybody pop up anyway.
Yeah, that's true. There hasn't been. I was not spending a lot of money in some leagues where I'm
for
very
like 2
short.
or 3 straight weeks. There wasn't that much out there. Wasn't this type. Duke Johnson was the one, but Duke Johnson was already on a lot of teams that were worried about something happened to David Johnson. So, and that's the thing. Look at Duke Johnson. He's a good example. If Ahmed gets that same market share that you're talking about, worst case scenario is a disappointing RB2. We wanted more, but worst case scenario is an RB2.
Jakey, picking up the Chargers in droves up to 67% ownership. Is that bad? Is that a bad idea? I mean, they're playing the Jets, and I can't remember who said it. Someone on one of our shows that we all do was saying like, the Jets. I think maybe it was Vaccaro actually. The Jets could actually be kind of a high-powered offense. They got all their pieces back. Their wide receivers are healthy.
Flacco.
I mean, it's Flacco who throws a couple interceptions, but I don't know if people are chasing that because of Flacco. I think they're chasing it because they think the Jets are just this kind of jokey, terrible team, which, I mean, they're bad, but when you're looking for fantasy defenses, you want sacks, you want interceptions. It's not so much shutting someone out, which the Jets might be able to put some points on the board, too.
No, and I'm actually looking right now to see where the Chargers are on the season as a fantasy defense. They're 23rd, the highest they've scored, 7 to 8 points. They get some sack. Actually, their best game of sacks, 3 in week 1 against the Bengals and 5 against the Jaguars. That's what it feels like. That's the trap too. I'm worried about them in Survivor. Like I kind of want to fade them, but at the same time, look, you're going to play matchups here, but this is so Pat and I combined last year.
That's Pat Mayo, the great Pat Mayo,
yes,
Mayo Media Network,
to be the most accurate defensive predictors. So because he goes purely what you're talking about, adjusted sack rate and then offensive lines and then or quarterback pressure, whatever he does, he combines the two and then he just ranks by combining the two. It's kind of the more advanced version of what you used to do. You used to just look for sacks and interceptions and that was it. Nothing else.
That was preseason to show who was aggressive.
Right.
Yeah. And it worked every year. It worked.
That he does his rankings and then I would combine them with mine and I would get an average of our 2 rankings and we were in a super, but that's what you need to look for. And the Chargers don't do a great job of it. So it's not a bad play, but I think there's better options out there.
Some more questions, Jakey. Should you drop Tua for Jameis Winston?
I don't have a problem. I'd rather drop somebody else. I don't want to drop Tua because the one thing here is Tua has the job the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Drew Brees. I was arguing with Pat yesterday. He was like, well, what if Winston throws 303 touchdowns in 3 straight games and then Drew Brees is healthy? I was like, it's the friggin' Saints. Drew Brees comes back. He's the quarterback. There's no question. It doesn't matter. Winston legitimately can't do anything to keep that job if Drew Brees is healthy.
Fair. That could cause a little bit of a mess.
It could.
Like week
but
15, 16. But
I think we know Sean Payton, we know the Saints, and we know it's Drew Brees' job when he comes back. That's the only reason I wouldn't drop Tua.
This seems like a situation where Drew Brees will come back for the first playoff game and cause that controversy, that Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady style controversy. Right? Was that it? No, Doug Flutie.
No, it was Drew Bledsoe.
Brad Johnson.
It wasn't a controversy. Tom Brady just came in and took over.
Yeah, but didn't they start Bledsoe in the playoff game where they're like, we're starting Bledsoe, and then Brady came in at halftime? Was that it?
I don't know.
And then Doug Flutie led the Bills down the stretch, and they started Rob Johnson
I remember that.
instead. Maybe that's an apt example. Here's a question from Eduardo. Should I be a believer in Daniel Jones? Currently has Burrow. You know what I'm going to say.
I know you're going to say because you're nuts. I'd never believe in Daniel Jones, although he's turned into Cam Newton.
He's running a lot, Jake.
Yeah, but he's also throwing terribly still.
No turnovers this last game.
Yeah, no turnovers, but what was his passing yards and touchdowns for this past couple?
Don't worry about it. Jake, come on, more questions. Let's go.
Let's see. 240. He's got 244 and 212 and 1 touchdown, passing touchdown the last 2 games. That's why you don't trust him. He's Cam Newton now.
All right, but that's good.
No, it's risky.
40 rushing yards is equal to 100 passing yards.
Well, it's equal to 1 passing touchdown.
Well, I mean, if you're in a 6-point passing.
But here's why quarterback doesn't.
I'm just
really
saying
matter.
if you go 200 passing and 40 rushing, that's the same as 300 passing.
And if you want to, that's fine. But if he doesn't get the rushing touchdown, is my biggest concern. So Look, I will say this. Just we were talking about it. This is the other thing I talked about. It was Michael Fabiano was on my podcast last night. The difference
Humble brag
between
there, Jake. All right,
no, I
good
want
for you.
people to. I'm giving him a shout out so people can go listen. The difference between quarterback 9 and quarterback 18 was 1 passing touchdown.
There you go.
That's what I'm saying about quarterback. Like I think that if people like a quarterback, feel free to go against my rankings. Outside the top 6, maybe 7, it's so super flat that I'm not going to care. If you want Daniel Jones over Cam Newton, if you want Tua, if you want Winston, if you don't want Winston, it's once you get past those top 6 or 7, it's super flat.
Makes sense. And at that point, you're just personal preference, like you say.
And if you want to shoot for the most upside, or if you want the safety, it's going to depend on what you want.
I just want to cheer for Daniel Jones because you're a Giants fan.
That's why I don't get too hung up on quarterbacks.
There you go. Well, look, Daniel Jones should have an extra 6 points if he didn't stumble. That would have been a touchdown. So add that to the season totals. Jakey, Taysom Hill or Hunter Henry in an ESPN league?
I would still go Henry just because of the volume, but if you want to go they're going to be. If I did you know what? I'll go put Taysom Hill in the tight end rankings this week somehow.
Here's an interesting one for you, Jake. Someone dropped Dobbins. He dropped Hollywood Brown, reagor for J.K. Dobbins. You were advocating a Marquise Brown drop in your waiver wire column.
I said if you had to. This is not you have to. So Hollywood Brown would be drop if you can go get Ahmed. Hollywood Brown would be if you have something and Josh Allen's on a bye and you have to go pick up Tua. Then I don't have a problem with the thing is Hollywood Brown is actually a sleeper I put out there, but I talked about this. I said the fact that we're calling him a sleeper is the problem with Hollywood Brown. He has 3 double-digit performances in 2 decent games, not even great, not even the 25-point games that we want from him. This is a week he might get it. They've got a great playoff schedule, but at this point, how do you start him? And the problem is if you're not starting him, you're going to miss the big games if you try to play mix and match because he does it against bad teams and then he'll do it against a good team or they'll not show up against a good team.
Jake, here's a question for you. Did you read Brandon Howard's column about how Devin DuVernay may actually have a big boost in playing time? Because they lost the tight end. They're almost forced to play more wide receivers.
They lost the tight end, which you're hoping this helps Mark Andrews bounce back. But what if they ask Mark Andrews to start blocking some more? That's a legitimate concern. I can see Duvernay, by the way. So Duvernay, Ahmed, Savon. So I can see that, but it still comes down to Lamar Jackson. I think Miles Boykin is in the mix too. I forget they had a 3rd tight end. I think he got down to the practice squad though. But I just don't trust anybody in the passing offense because they don't need to. They just run the ball.
All right, fair enough. We got a kicker question. Myers or Sanders, Jake? Good early morning kicker question from Josh.
Go ask Fabiano.
I'm gonna say Myers. I feel more comfortable.
He tried to argue for kickers on the podcast. I almost muted him. I almost said we were ending the podcast.
Jake, Marco's in the house.
Do you know that reference?
What? Yeah, Troy and Ahmed in the morning.
There we go.
Troy and Abed.
Actually, hold on.
Troy and Salvin Abed in the morning.
Let's see. Hold on. Here you go.
All right, Jake. I'll just read this one out loud, and whenever you feel like being normal again, I'll let you know. Hey! It's almost time to watch the Community Christmas special again. Would you move DK for a running back?
We still haven't got the movie yet.
That's right. Would you move DK for an RB? I have Balaj and Hilaire starting running backs. What do you say, Jake?
I'm assuming DK Metcalf here.
I guess,
you don't move him unless you're getting a definitive RB1, and that doesn't include James Conner at this point. So
look at his running backs right now.
They're fine. That's what I'm saying. Unless you're getting a definitive.
Look at his running backs in week 15.
It still might be fine. It's
so?
Balaj. Balaj is dicey. Like this is a different Balaj. We joked about it. You said get away from Gase.
But I mean, all right. Well, hey, whatever.
Oh my God.
What?
I'm gonna ban Chris. I saw that comment just come in.
I don't know. Dave Gettleman for president. Jake, why don't you just call out the ones that you want? Here. Why won't you? This guy. Here's someone who has a problem with you. Why won't Jake allow me to trade away Swift or Zeke for a wide receiver, even though I have Jacobs and McLaurin?
I mean, I won't let you.
Hollywood.
I won't let you.
I don't know, Jake. Maybe you're visiting this guy in his dreams.
But what? It's because who's your 4th running back? If your running backs are Jacobs, Swift, and Zeke, I don't understand why people are so willing to give away running backs.
Swift you can trade pretty easily right now.
We're talking about going hard after Savon Ahmed and Kalen Balaj, and people want to trade away running backs.
But I kind of get it. Like, I don't get it in this situation because you got McLaurin, you got Judy, Hollywood, whatever.
I can see it, but here's the problem.
Unless you get Devontae Adams for DeAndre Swift, I don't know what,
I mean, maybe that's the thing. Of these, it would
Who'd you want,
probably
one
be
of the Seattle guys? Keenan Allen, maybe? Keenan Allen?
I was going to say Lockett for Swift, but
Yeah.
Swift would be the one to trade because he's the highest and most risky, and not
No
even the
one's
most
giving
risky.
you anything for Zeke. You're getting
That's
nothing for
what I was
Zeke.
going to get at. And I'm actually trying to buy Zeke right now because nobody's giving you anything. If Zeke can bounce back with Andy Dalton, he doesn't even have to be top 10. But nobody wants to pay more than or wants to have more than our low RB2 value on him.
Well, so this is great. This like right now, week 11, looking ahead to maybe the playoff run that you could be making. And even them coming off the bye and Andy Dalton back at quarterback, and Dalton was so good with Gio Bernard back in his Cincinnati days.
And it's Minnesota. If Zeke goes for 100 and a touchdown against Minnesota, done.
You're done. No more Zeke. You can't get Zeke.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So here's the thing. I'm buying low as well, and I feel like we're distanced so much from what you spent draft capital wise on Zeke, and people are in such trouble, in other parts, with buys. And although keep an eye on this, buys this week, nothing next week, and then 2 buys the week after, the much ballyhooed Christian McCaffrey buy.
Yeah, and Tampa Bay,
which could be if you're sitting at 5-5 right now, that's going to be.
But I'm glad you said that. That was a good point about so if Zeke had done this for the first 4 weeks. You're still kind of close to that. What you brought up the draft capital. People are like, well, he was my first round pick.
Oh, yeah, he was my number 4 pick on him.
Yeah. And that's the thing is, I always say, even come week 3, is the draft doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't matter what you paid. But now, like you said, people are so far distanced that they're not thinking that anymore, finally.
Yeah. Here's a follow-up from PL34, by the way. This week's trade deadline. Well, I don't want to lose RBs. I don't know if I can compete with Judy and Hollywood. McLaurin is carrying me. Fair enough.
My career. Haha.
Hey, whatever. Maybe he's in a work league and he's beating the boss.
Well, we gave you some options out there.
Yeah, there's some options. I mean, I'm not against it, but you're not going to get anything for Ezekiel Elliott.
That's the problem. So you're going to have to trade Swift.
I mean, all right, let's play this game then, Jake. What would you be able, what are you offering for Ezekiel Elliott in your leagues? Like, who's that? Not Marquise Brown. He's not good enough.
No.
I assume it would have to be a wide receiver because why give up a running back for another running back? DJ Moore off his good week.
Absolutely would trade DJ Moore. I hate DJ Moore.
Yeah, but I don't think the other GM.
They might.
Maybe.
I'm looking at my running backs right now, ranking wise. I would if I had Gibson and I wanted put it this way, if I had Gibson and I was around 500, I'd go for Zeke with Gibson. I would send who else? I would send Kareem Hunt now that Nick Chubb is back. Sell high.
You would trade Kareem Hunt for Ezekiel Elliott?
Yeah, if I'm trying to win. That's the thing. What is Kareem Hunt going to do? Be a rock solid RB2 the rest of the way. Unless Nick Chubb gets hurt, those RB1 days are gone.
Yeah, okay.
They'll be sprinkled in. He'll hit it once in a blue moon, but this is what I'm talking about. You don't have to go do it. But this is how people win leagues, is they go take advantage of something like this right now where Zeke is bottom basement pricing. If you could trade away Todd Gurley, those touchdowns are and he's still not being used in the passing game. I would do that. I'm trying to think who else. I'll tell you this. I would not trade James Robinson. I would not trade Miles Sanders, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry.
You wouldn't trade Miles Sanders?
No, I think Miles Sanders is going to destroy the rest of the season. He's going
it's almost like a lateral move anyway, Miles Sanders for Ezekiel Elliott, Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I'm pulling up wide receivers. Robbie Anderson, send him.
CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah,
No,
you're not.
Enough.
Yeah, it's not enough. T. Higgins, send him. Even Justin Jefferson.
What about Higgins and Lamb for Zeke?
I don't think you could just send Higgins.
What about Cooper Kupp?
Yeah. I brought this up on. I don't even know. The podcast all start blending together at this point. Right. So Cooper Kupp. So the excitement for Josh Reynolds last week and why he was my sleeper pick is something Pat Mayo, again, friend, he's the one that pointed it out and made me dig into it, is that the Rams before their bye started running 11, 3 wide sets, a lot more. The 2 weeks heading into their bye, which is what they were doing last year. And then they switched at the end of the year and started running 12 until Gerald Everett got hurt. Here's the other thing. I don't know if you remember this, Nando. At the end of last year, Cooper Kupp started coming off the field for Josh Reynolds. And Cooper Kupp's snap percentage went from 90 to about 70.
There's a question from Dips88 for you
that's
related to this. Yeah.
He's not the number one because it's still the snap count, but the fact that Kupp fell back to about 60, 70% and Reynolds started replacing him on the field is more concerned about a Kupp. And now you could look at Reynolds, I'd say, as a wide receiver 3 going forward. I still think Woods has room to bounce back. It's not a great week to do it, but I still think.
Maybe they're trying to save Cooper Kupp some wear and tear. I mean, he had a massive knee surgery.
It could be.
Yeah. All right, we'll find out. We got to wrap it up, Jake. Let's get one more. You can pick it since you can see all the questions.
I don't know. I'm sure there. Oh, so how about?
Oh, we do have a clarification. He meant his fantasy career. He's not losing his job. Good to hear. All right, everybody who's got a question in the queue, Jake's going to pick one. All right, Jake.
I'm trying to. You should
Those
pick
nice
them.
tips.
Thank you.
All right, well, let's end with the tight end question. Yeah, let's end with the tight end question.
She's sleeping at my feet right now.
Rest of the season: Jonu, Smith, Hayden, Hurst, or Dallas Goedert.
Goedert.
I know.
Look, for Dallas Goedert, I'm going to go with him at least one more week. This has been frustrating. Maybe he just hasn't been healthy the past 2 games, getting back to 100%. Or maybe there's 2 more options. I'm giving him one more chance. Biggie, give me one more chance. I got a Biggie one, too, somewhere over here.
All right, well, on that note, by the way, Zach Ertz has been designated to return from IR, so he's one of he's
I know, that's why
top 20, I think, in most added.
I'm not a Jonu guy. It was the same argument I had with Funston at the beginning of the season. Our Brandon Funston, you can hear in all the stuff in his writings.
Jake finally plugged someone from The Athletic. That was great. Thanks.
It's just because Jono's the 3rd option when everybody's healthy, and you see him getting left out.
Hey, check out Brandon Howard's article. It's actually really, really, really good. You go to theathletic.com/cheat sheet, and I think you get it for like $1 a week. That might, I don't know what the code. I don't know the code that pops up actually.
Hey, there's a Travis Fulgham question.
Go ahead. Where is it? All right, we'll get that one, and then we gotta go. We really gotta go. Tim Patrick, Travis Fulgham.
You answer, Nando.
Jamison Crowder. You know what? I feel like this is the begin. Like Travis Fulgham is Victor Cruz right now, and that's gonna last. Like I got that feeling. He's just like I'm in a dynasty league where I'm 4-6, but I'm a game out for first. I've been damaged with some injuries, and I got Fulgham, and I was looking at the guy who has Gurley right now, and I'm like, man, should I trade Fulgham for Gurley because my running backs are so terrible? And I don't know, like something. I'm like, maybe Fulgham will be good for like the next 6 or 7 years. I don't know. It's crazy.
He could be.
I don't know what to do with him.
I would go Jamison Crowder because I love Jamison Crowder. He's one of the most disrespected wide receivers. He's Terry McLaurin without the respect. The issue with Travis Fulgham is not Fulgham.
Terry McLaurin's not always hurt.
That's why.
Yeah.
My issue with Fulgham is Carson Wentz. Because he has Goedert, Miles Sanders is back, because Jalen Reagor is back, because Alshon Jeffrey is back. What we just saw in the Giants game is he's not going to force it to Fulgham.
Right.
If Fulgham's getting taken away with top corners, which is James Bradbury, he only threw 5 targets his way, and I think only 2 or 3 of them were even catchable.
Right.
That's my concern.
We got to go. On that note, Travis Fulgham, Jakey's guy from Old Dominion. How fitting. Thank you all for joining us. We hope you enjoyed this. Check out The Athletic. There's a lot of good stuff. But the Brandon Howard one, I'm telling you, there's stuff in there that you've never thought of as a fantasy player. It's so good. And I just wish everyone would read it. And I don't know what else to do to push it out, but it's good. And there's a Christian Kirk note in there, too, that's pretty amazing. But anyway, love you all. Thanks for joining us this morning. Hope you enjoyed Wakey Wakey with Jakey. Get well soon, Barkley, Jake's dog, and Saquon Barkley, the namesake. We'll see you later, everybody. Have a good one.